All right. Hello. I believe we are live, everyone. My name is Lindsay Dollinger. I'm the host of the Purpose and Pixie Dust podcast, and I'm super excited today for our guest, Mary Elizabeth, who I got to chat with, I think it was only a couple weeks ago now. And we had a really awesome chat, and I'm just super excited to bring her to you today. So welcome to the show. And would you please tell us a little bit about you, what you do, and how you got started?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, thank you, by the way, so much for having me here. I'm really excited. My name is Mary Elizabeth, and I have been in the network marketing space for going into my third year now. I used to work in an ER. I was there for 12 and a half years, a medic for New York State. And in July of 2021, I went into a really bad flare with my autoimmune disease, which is called mixed connective tissue disease. And so it's 3 or 4 autoimmune diseases mixed in one. And so I basically went from being able to deadlift 250 pounds at my highest PR for CrossFit to not being able to walk across my kitchen. And it really was a struggle for me because I was somebody who loved helping other people, and I had to step out of my job on medical leave because I couldn't do that anymore. And so then kind of fast forward and, things started shifting and changing and mandates were put in place, and I had to make a decision between my health or my job. And I had no idea what I was going to do, but I knew that if I didn't work on my health first, that I wasn't going to be able to fully recover. And so I chose to resign. And that was so hard of a decision for me, but also the best decision and kind of a blessing in disguise. Because in the last 2 years, when I dove into network marketing, then needing an income, I never looked back. And not only have I been able to heal, but I've been able to go to therapy. I was, officially diagnosed with ADHD, which made so much more sense in my life. And I'm here with you guys today. So I'm really thankful for that.
I love that. And I think that's such a theme with so many people that I have on the show is like, something happened or you went through this like really hard time. And then because of the pivots and the journey, like everything made sense. Like it's that everything happens for a reason mentality. I definitely want to dive into the ADHD today because
Sure.
that is something that I feel like I'm seeing more and more adults being diagnosed with, and just, people kind of wondering like, how can this affect me? But I want to talk about your network marketing first. So had you already started with your company before you resigned from your full-time job? I don't know if you said that or not.
No, it's fine. So I actually had. So while I was out on medical leave, I was thankful to have 3 or 4 months of long-term sick leave saved up. But I was constantly for years and years working at least one overtime shift. So my job in the ER, I worked 12-hour nights, so 7P to 7A. And it was almost standard for me to work one, if not two, overtime shifts, just to kind of bridge the gap. And so while I was thankful that I had medical leave and I was still getting a full paycheck, I wasn't getting the extra income that I would have gotten with working that overtime shift. And so when I joined, I've only ever been with 2 companies. My first company, when I joined them, my mom had said to me, like, I literally was looking all over the place. I was applying to these really random, like almost scammy, like work from home kind of jobs just to try to find a way to earn extra income. And my mom was with the company, my first company as well. And she said, what do you have to lose? You've told me for years you don't have time. You're home, you're working on your health. You don't really have anything but time now.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, you got me. So I joined, and I was only looking to make maybe $300 to $400 just to bridge that gap with the lack of overtime. And then I realized how lucrative it could be. And when I put my resignation in, I knew that I needed to make this work, and I needed to find the ways to make it work because I wasn't going to go back.
Yeah.
And I physically couldn't go back anyways. But I didn't want to be behind a job or a desk again because I saw the freedom that I could obtain by network marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I love that. I say that a lot to, teammates, friends, clients who are teachers, like have time off, or I'm like, dude, use that time off. Or, I broke my wrist in, oh my gosh, what year? 2017. Had several surgeries and was also off work, at least healing through those. And I'm like, hey, you know what? My left wrist is broken, but my right can still be on the phone and doing things. So yeah, I definitely like to take and run with those things, even if they're not like the best circumstances. Use that time wisely, right? Okay, so let's dive into how you were able to use ADHD to your advantage as an entrepreneur. So I don't even know where to start with that, honestly. So maybe, hopefully, you do as the expert, but walk us through maybe a little bit what that diagnosis looked like for you, and then how you were able to use that to grow your business how it is now.
Yeah, for sure. So the whole kind of journey started back. I mean, I've had it my whole life now that I know, but the kind of journey into seeking an explanation or what was wrong sort of started in 2019. So pretty much that like first year of like, world as we knew it was changing. And I started, like, I had been working out. I was doing a ton of fitness. Like then I stopped running because that's never really been my thing. And I started CrossFit, and um, but I started drinking, and I started drinking a lot. And, you know, it's funny looking back because I thought it's fascinating to me now, but I actually thought that by being able to drink nearly a half a bottle of vodka and hold my liquor without like kind of losing it was like a badge of honor. Like I was cool. And nothing about that is cool, to be fair. Like it's not anything I would suggest. But alcohol being a depressant, it wasn't actually helping me, but I sought it and was using it more and more because I felt myself be able to unmask, like to be able to drop that like stress. And it didn't actually work that way. It caused more. So it was kind of going into 2020, and I had gone to my provider, my physician, and I said, "Listen, I can't do this anymore. Like something is wrong and I don't feel good. I am sad, I am angry, I am just overwhelmed and I don't know what's going on." And because of my use of alcohol, I finally, and truly the like tragedies, thankfully nobody died, but I would drive, and it was the biggest. It was, my husband would worry, my brothers, like everything. And I said, I finally was able to like say out loud, I'm depressed. Like something is wrong. Like I am clearly depressed, and I need to find a way to fix this. And so that's when, so fast forward into 2021, I had started using Effexor, which was really helpful for me. I started again changing my lifestyle. Then my flare happened. Then I resigned and I started therapy. And so as I went through therapy, I started to understand, okay, I know I have anxiety, I know I have depression, but is there something else at play? And my therapist is incredible, and I am so lucky to have found her. And she said, wait a minute, have you ever contemplated ADHD? Because so many women mask so well, especially in the corporate world, that it's not something that we're seen as having, because the majority of people think that it's just a really hyperactive little boy. And I said, well, I've seen a lot of stuff on it and I relate to it, but I wasn't diagnosed as a kid. So I like, and she said, no, I really think this fits. She said, if you were able to actually accomplish what you want to accomplish in a day, would that decrease your anxiety? And do you think that would make you less depressed? And I was like, yeah, actually. So I went through the process. I went back to my provider and I said, this is what I like. I need an assessment. So we did an assessment, and I pretty much ticked every single box for ADHD on the non hyperactive side. And that's how I got to the ADHD diagnosis part. So then becomes the question of, do you use natural substance or do you use medication? It's a huge conversation, a huge topic. And I chose to use medication. I use 10 milligrams of Adderall. I can take it up to twice a day. And my life completely changed. I had no idea that like the majority of people don't actually have a constant voice in their head. I didn't know that the majority of people don't have this dialogue that we all have, that if you're neurodivergent, you have, that's just all these voices, all these things making any decision almost impossible. So when I took my Adderall for the first time, my husband was at work. I called my brother and I said, hey, I'm going to take this. I've never taken it before. Obviously, I don't know how I'm going to react. Just so you know, if I call you and I make no sense, or I'm a pile on the floor, or I'm running around like crazy, you know what's going on, right? So about 45 minutes after that, I'm standing in my living room, and I'm just like looking like kind of out the window at the curtain, and I will never forget this. for the first time in my entire life, I was only thinking about that curtain. I didn't hear an inner dialogue. I didn't hear all these different voices of do this, do this, do this. I don't know what to do. And that in and of itself, the medication, my therapy, and finding ways that in systems that work for me has completely changed my game for network marketing.
Okay. I as you're saying all that, I'm like hearing voices in my head and I'm like, "Oh my god, I have thought for a while that I probably have ADHD."
Mm-hmm.
And that is part of my reason where I am like getting done a million things like all the time.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that she discovered that for you, that she brought that up and recommended that, and that you have
Yeah.
found, because I know the treatment portion, I work with high school kids, and I know just from talking to their parents can be really tricky to find
Yeah.
one that works. And I'm really glad that that seemed to have been a seamless process, at least from what you were describing.
Yeah. I got really lucky.
Yeah. Yeah,
Really lucky.
sure. So what are some things that you tweaked? Because you mentioned systems, and I'm all about systems in my
Mm-hmm.
business. So what are some systems specifically that you found that you were able to start, put in place, that have really helped you, business, life, both?
Yeah. So I think that everybody probably can relate to this, but specifically ADHDers as well. We see a new notebook, we see a new calendar, and we're like, oh my goodness, I gotta have that, right? And so then you have them and you've used maybe 2 pages and they're sitting on like the shelf. They're sitting, you're not right, you're not using them. And so a traditional calendar didn't work for me. And especially with blah blah blah, time blindness and the out of sight, out of mind, or object impermanence, those two things are really big for me. I could literally be walking to come back upstairs and there would be something I need to bring upstairs and like I physically won't see it because I'm too like in my head thinking about what I have to do when I get upstairs so I don't forget. So when I about 6 months after I started network marketing, I joined a coaching program and I joined Fraser Brooks' coaching program. And that was one of the biggest blessings because he makes things so simplistic. So one of the things he talks about in there is your Google Calendar. And he talks about breaking things down into 15-minute blocks and then using kind of a color coded system. And I've been a color coder for a long time. It helps me visually see things. And so 15-minute blocks were too short time periods for me though, because especially if we're hyper focusing, I won't even see anything else. It could be hours. So I adjusted that accordingly and how I was able to put time blocks in for me to do work. But then I found time blocking wasn't really working for me because I'd go over the time and then I would feel frustrated and I would feel behind. So I always mention everybody's name of the systems I started to use because I feel like it's fair. So I found Andy Frisella's Power List, which was really cool. So very simply put, it has 5 things. You write down those 5 things that are going to help you progress in your business. It's not like do the laundry. It's like 5 things that will help you move the needle. And you write those same things down until they become a habit, and then you can write down something else. Again, that wasn't the concept was great for me, but I would set the list down and then I would forget. So I created a really simple system for me because I found so much power in brain dumping. Brain dumping is where you take everything in your head and you just write it down. And so I combined the two, and now I have brain dumping on one side so I can get all the thoughts out of my head. And then I take a highlighter or pen, something, and I circle the 5 things that stick out the most to me, and then I put them on my list. And so then I know that I can get those things done for the day. And if I'm done, then that's great. If I want to do it again, I do it again. So it was one system, like I call it the ADHDers daily list, but that was the one system that really helped. And boards is the other system.
Okay, I
Board.
love that. Let's talk about your planning. I created my own as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I do hourly time blocks because the 15 minutes is too short for me
Yeah.
too. But sometimes within the hour, like I'll have like Peloton 30 minutes and then 10, like I'll break it up
Mm-hmm.
even further. And then I've done the top 5 for the day. I've also done top 3.
Yep.
Um, I have done top 3 probably the past year and a half or 2 years. But then when I get down the 3, then I'll add more,
Mm-hmm.
because there are some, depending on what the tasks are. That's what I tell people. It
Yeah.
kind of depends on what the tasks are, because some days 5 is too much.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
3 is too much, like to break them down into those smaller pieces. So I
Mm-hmm.
love how you combined that to make it work for you, because that's exactly what I did. And that's what I try to encourage people to do too. Like, take the best pieces of all of everyone's strategy and put it
Yep.
together into something that works for you. Love that. Okay, tell us what boards is, because this is what we chatted about a couple weeks ago, and all the cool stuff you were telling me that it does blows my mind. And if you're listening to this, I'm hoping Mary Elizabeth will come back and do a training for us sometime in my free group, because
Yeah.
I've heard of people using it, and I know some of my
Mm-hmm.
clients use it, but you explained it super well. So what's boards?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can definitely give you, the link and stuff to boards afterwards. I use boards for literally everything. So boards, very simply put, is an app that also turns into a keyboard text replacement, also a Chrome or Edge extension text replacement. So if you're in network marketing or direct sales, most of the time you're answering the same questions over and over. Or your reach outs are very similar and you're answering those over and over, or sending the same messages to people. You may be tweaking things a little bit. And so many people use text shortcuts, like text replacement with their phone. So, with the iPhone, you can go into settings and you can put in a text replacement. And so maybe the shortcut is like OMW, right? So if you type OMW, it comes out and says on my way. Great concept. If I'm not, it's not in front of me, I can't remember what my shortcut was. So without having 1,000 lists, all my shortcuts, it didn't work. Plus, you can't put videos in there unless they're links. You can't necessarily do voice notes, things like that. So when I found boards, I was like, oh my God. So it within the app, you can literally add text, voice notes, videos without a link. Like, you don't have to upload them to Vimeo or YouTube. You can put images in there, and then all of it literally becomes part of your keyboard. So you get a message in that says, hey, like, I saw you posting online about your business. Like, what do you do? Right? All of my information is right there. I'm not wasting a ton of time going through trying to find the scripts that I had in my notes. Somebody said, oh, do you have any information on this product? Like, I would really love to know the ingredients or what have you. Like, or does this product have caffeine in it? What one doesn't? All those images are in my boards. So literally, as I'm typing, I click the little globe on the left-hand side, or the keyboard if you're on Android on the right-hand side, and it all pops up there. I have it all organized within folders. It makes like my like OCD, or I joke like CDO, right? Because everything has to be in order. But it's all right there. I don't have to look for anything. So one, the productivity goes up, but two, it makes it less overwhelming. And in it, people talk about frustration, and I learned this quote from Fraser, right? But you turn that frustration into fascination, and that's what I did with boards.
I love that. Creating systems, and then, like I told my team many, many times, if you are answering the same question more than once, you need to have it saved somewhere. Like, the answer
Mhm.
saved, whether it's a text replacement, whether it's boards. I didn't know you could do voice memos and videos and boards.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can
mind
do,
is blown
yeah,
again.
right? Voice notes, videos. Now they've actually implemented, so there's something called pages within boards, and so it comes up and looks like a mini website page. And so instead of having to go to Fiverr and pay someone, or having to try to figure out how to build it on GoDaddy or whatever, like, you can literally go in and you can add all of this content, videos. There's something called buttons. So not only do you have a button where it could go to a website, but you can have your PayPal links, your WhatsApp link, like everything in there. And so, say that you have someone who wants more information and they're ready to look at the opportunity, the product, you can send them this boards page that comes up like a really professional looking website with all the information right there. And so, I would rather get one message than I would get 17 messages, because I probably won't look at all 17.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. And
Do
so,
you have to
yeah,
pay
go
for
ahead.
boards?
So boards is completely free. Let me rephrase. There are two parts to boards.
Okay.
Boards is a free plan, and so you get 100 free shares from the keyboard. The app itself is always free if you want it to be. You can
Yep.
put as much content in there, everything that you want to do. The paid version allows you to do the videos, to do the voice notes, There's some other features, like if you have teams, then you can send out like announcements. So if I actually utilize that instead of Facebook group messages. So we have a team board, all the resources are in there for them. And then if there's something that's new, there's an update, there's a sale or whatever, then I can send out an announcement. There's no back and forth. Their phone isn't blowing up. It gives them the information. They can find it in the folders.
Oh, that's nice. I like that there's no back and forth. I
Yep.
have a love-hate relationship with group chats. Anyone
Yeah,
who
me
knows
too.
me knows that. They're like all
Mhm.
silenced on my phone if I stay in them at all.
Yeah.
And then I was just going to ask that piece about the team. So you can invite your team members to see any of your boards as well and use your stuff, just like.
Yeah, so I actually built and manage Fraser's for his inner circle, and we
Look at
have.
you now, fancy.
Well, I didn't even say it for that. It's just an easy example to use.
Yeah,
So
but still, that's awesome.
thanks. Well, he has, there's 700 people in the team in his inner circle, and so with that, whoever wanted to join the board can, and they have all their basic scripts. I actually used AI, like I used ChatGPT, and I translated it into all of the languages that
Okay,
everybody has. So there's a folder of translated scripts for them, so they can
nice.
utilize those. And then, there's updates. There, his links are in there, like whatever we need for the inner circle,
Mhm.
and we can send out reminder messages. So we have a clarity call every Monday, right? And so I just send out a quick reminder, and so many people have been like, "Oh my God, that was so helpful. My day got away from me. Like I swiped away my own reminder, whatever." But it allows us to have like a easy place for everybody to be able to find and do the productivity, those IPAs or income producing activity.
Yeah.
So in there, I think there's almost 400 people. And so you can add as many people in your team as you want, and you can build it out. And, you know, like in mine, we have like a content calendar for the month. My one-on-one Calendly link is there if they need to book a
Mhm.
call, and it makes it simplistic for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. That's like your hub
Yeah.
instead of like a Facebook group or whatever. That's your hub.
Well, it's not connected to Meta. So if Meta
Mhm.
crashes, you don't
Yeah.
lose anything.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, that's a good point too. All
Hmm.
right. And you also mentioned Calendly. Are there any other systems that you're like, you got to try these?
Oh man. Okay. I mean, you and I could talk about systems probably all day, every day.
Probably.
So I'm a really big fan of AI as well.
Mm,
So I use ChatGPT like it is my best friend.
I do too.
And right. And so
Yep.
it came to content planning, and so many people just kind of like throw spaghetti at the wall and see if it sticks. And I needed a system to be able to not feel overwhelmed trying to post content. So I actually had ChatGPT build my content plan for me for my platform. So for Facebook, for Instagram, for TikTok, tells me what carousels to do, and you can expand on that. But the two systems that I then take from there and utilize is ManyChat and Metricool.
Okay.
So Metricool is, again, I pay for ManyChat. I don't use the premium plan on Metricool. I don't need to. Metricool is a um, scheduling app or website that you can upload things to, and then they'll schedule to your platforms for you. So, let's see, Facebook business pages, Instagram, uh, it's not Twitter. What is it? X now or something?
Yeah.
Right, and then you can even schedule to TikTok,
Oh,
and
wow.
so it makes that productivity so much easier. So when I learned how to use ChatGPT with Canva to bulk create content, I then can go in and schedule it. And you get, with Metricool's free plan, you get 50 posts a month. So it's amazing. My stuff posts, like especially because I'm not an early riser, I
Mm,
can have my posts go and they still will post, and I don't have to worry that I'm missing something.
yeah. I've heard people talk about Metricool before
Yeah.
as a nice scheduling platform. Does it do video too?
Yep.
Okay.
And it does Instagram stories, which is
Mm,
incredible.
yeah, that's really
Yeah.
nice. I like that. Okay. And then the other one you mentioned, ManyChat. What is
Yeah.
ManyChat for everyone who doesn't?
So ManyChat is a bot service, so it can connect to multiple different things. I do have it connected to my Facebook business page, but I utilize it the most for Instagram. So as somebody with ADHD, too many messages very much overwhelms me, and trying to respond to so many people all the time can be overwhelming as well. So I'll use I'll use loops because that's an easy example. I use loops as they're kind of like earplugs, but they just bring down the noise decimal around you. And so I wanted to tell people about it because it's been helpful for me in social situations and, going out to dinner or at my stepson's basketball games where it's really loud. So I just made a reel and I was talking about loops and how you could go, well, like what they were for, how you could find them. And I knew people were going to want to ask where they could find the information. And so the reason that ManyChat is so powerful is that you can actually set up an auto response to any comment based on a keyword. So anybody that comments on that reel and drop the word loop will then get an automatic message in their DMs. And so that's working in the background for me while I'm doing other things. It's the same way with lead generation. So if I'm talking about why the business is great, or I'm sharing someone else's story about the business and somebody wants to learn more information, they can drop a keyword or they can reply to a story with a keyword. It just depends on what the system is. And then they're going to get an automated set of responses. And so that's so powerful because how many times do we as network marketers reach out to people and just that, you have those conversations, you're building the relationship just to find out they never were interested in it to begin with, right? And you feel like that's a time waster. But with ManyChat, I have it set up so there's qualifying questions. So how many hours a week do you have to work on earning an extra income? Are you coachable and open to learning new things? Great, that's awesome. Drop your email, drop your phone number, whatever kind of contact information you want it to gather. And then I can go into ManyChat and reach out to those people specifically, and it's lead generating on the back end.
Yeah, I love that. I have seen a lot of creators, and it's not always ManyChat, but I
Yeah.
know a lot of people when they're like comment and they give you a certain keyword or an
Mm-hmm.
emoji to drop. I'm like, oh, that's genius because then
Yeah.
that bot is working in the background, contacting them. And like you said, just saving you that like one step. Obviously, you're not a bot chatting to people all the time. You're still having those
Yeah.
conversations, especially as your business is growing to certain levels. You want to have that time to spend for people who are your quality leads. I totally understand that.
Yeah. And I think one of my favorite features is that anytime someone tags me in a story, I can send them a thank you. And
Mm,
so if somebody is tagging me in a reel that I shared or a post that I shared or something, then it will send them a message and say, thanks, I really appreciate your support. It means the most to me. Like, and so for me right now, it's just, I give them a free copy of that ADHD, the daily list I made. Maybe
yeah.
it will help them, but it's a thank you because the people that are supporting you on social media, it doesn't matter whether they're going to be your business partner, a customer, but they're helping you grow. And I like to show that appreciation.
Hmm. Oh, I love that. Yeah, that's
Mhm.
super sweet. Okay, like you said, we could talk about systems all day long. I loved our chat. I know this is going to be so helpful to so many people. So
Mhm.
before we hop off, I have a few questions I like to ask my guests,
Sure.
and they're not anything crazy. But
Yeah.
do you have a morning routine, evening routine, neither, both? What's your stance?
So as much as I would love to have a solid concrete routine, um, the one thing I do in the morning is I don't set a hard alarm. I know that might sound weird, but if I have to set an alarm where I have to be up by a certain time, I actually don't sleep well. So kind of part of my night routine, but also my morning routine is I set I call it a soft alarm. So by 8:30 in the morning, my alarm will go off. Most of the time I'm awake before that, but I know that I'm not going to be anxious. So I get up. We all know that we're going to pick up our phones. I know so many people say they don't, but it makes me less stressed to just kind of look through any notifications to see if there's something I need to answer immediately. And then what I've really tried to implement, as much as it's difficult, is to eat something for breakfast. I'm not a morning eater. I never have been, but I have noticed over the last few days, even if it's just a piece of fruit, it helps me. And then my evening routine is simple. I use one of my products before bed, and then I don't allow myself to read personal development at night because my brain won't shut off.
Ooh.
So I read psychological thrillers because those are my favorite.
Because those will get you to sleep right away.
Yeah, right. Yep.
I love that. That's interesting. I'm that way too. It kind of depends on the book. I try not to read anything too heavy or anything that but I'm okay with mindset before bed, if that makes sense. Like I'm reading We Should All Be Millionaires right now.
Mm.
You read that one?
No, but it's on my list.
Oh my gosh, girl, you have to read it. So many people recommended it to me and I understand why now. And it's one you could read before bed.
Yeah.
It's like storytelling throughout it, which is interesting. Which leads me into my next question. What is either your most recent favorite business book or like favorite business personal development book that you recommend to people?
Oh,
It's hard. It's hard. It's hard to pick one.
it is hard to pick one. Oh man.
So that's why it can be your most recent one too.
So honestly, there are so many. There are so many, but honestly, Fraser's. I've already reread
I
his
was
first
just
one.
wondering if you were going to say that.
Yeah, it's like there are so many. Like
Hmm.
it just. Oh,
He's
I hate
awesome.
to just
He's
pick
an,
one.
I mean, he knows his stuff. He is social
Yeah.
media, network marketing. Like I've
Well,
done a lot
yeah,
of
but
his
it's
programs
the
and
thing
have.
is it just makes it so simple.
Hmm.
But like, so he has three, and then he has his tracker. But I reread "I Dare You," and it just gives the simple, simplistic steps to help someone who is even just like very just starting out. The
Yeah.
simple systems, right? I'm reading "I Double Dare You," but besides besides his, I think one of the best books that I've ever read when it came to business was "Get Over Your Damn Self."
Yep. I think we talked about that. Did we
Yep,
talk
I
about that?
think we did.
Okay, I think we did. That's
That was my besides
Mhm.
Fraser's books that I reread. That was my most recent like business book, and that was eye opening.
Yeah. Yeah. I recommend that to all my ladies, especially network marketing ladies, but
Yeah,
honestly anything, because if you can get over yourself in business and like this isn't about me, this is about something bigger, you can 100% build a business.
yeah.
For
It
sure.
almost mirrored what Fraser teaches, but the way that she led with the business to then referrals to then products, I was like, oh, and it
Hmm.
helped that system part of things to be like, oh wait, I have a path.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I like that visualization as well. Okay, last question.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite place you've ever traveled, or what's a place on your bucket list that you're like, I gotta go?
Ah, well, we're going to Dubai in 2024.
Are you
In
going
April.
to Fraser's thing?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. We're going to Dare to Dream. But so that's a bucket list. But one of the coolest places that
Great.
we ever traveled was last year. We went in September to Maine,
Hmm.
and it was not only like we were there for a week. We started in one place and then we ended in Bangor, but it was so different because I grew up on the water but not the ocean. And so to see
Mhm.
like the tides go out and all that stuff was fascinating. And it
Yeah.
was when you travel you get that mindset shift and you can see, the opportunities and possibilities, but it was also because I have to be gluten-free and dairy-free for my autoimmune disease,
Mm.
and there are so few options around here.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there were so many there,
Hmm.
and that was really great because I
Yeah.
saw the possibility of okay, like it like there are places I can eat, and
Mhm.
like it was just I felt included,
Yeah.
and that was
Oh,
really powerful in Maine.
yeah. Where are you from again? Where do you live?
I live in upstate New York, so I'm from Alexandria Bay, which is right on the U.S. Canadian border.
Okay.
But my husband's from about 40 minutes south, so
Okay.
yeah, that's where I grew up, was in the
Okay.
Bay.
New York. New York. I
Yeah,
couldn't remember. I knew you were somewhere Midwesty slash what would you call that?
East Coast.
East Coast. Thank you.
Yeah,
I was gonna say Middle East, and I'm like, that is not right.
listen, geography is not my thing, so I nope.
I knew it wasn't the Middle East. You're going to the Middle East when you go
Yeah,
to Dubai, but
yeah.
okay. Anyway, awesome. That sounds awesome. We went to Maine. I don't even remember how old I was, but it's been a while. I was probably 10 or 11.
Hmm.
And I know it was a bucket trip list for my mom. I might have been like 12. And I remember it was really cool. And so
Yeah.
I have to go back as an adult to check it all
Yeah,
out.
it was. I'd never been there, and I've been to a lot of places, but
Mhm.
it was really cool. That
Yeah.
was my favorite place so far.
Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah.
Well, again, thank you so much for your time. And I will put all your links in the show notes. But for the lady listening to this, if she's driving, how can she find you, connect with you, learn more about you?
Yeah. So on Facebook, it's Mary Elizabeth Wratten, Wratten. On Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, it is at the only Mary Elizabeth. So that's the handle for pretty much everything. And There's not too much on YouTube yet. That's a work in progress, but Instagram and TikTok are my jam.
Awesome. I love that so much. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.